Welcome to Chapter 23. Let's see how breathing works. Breathing has two distinct parts. On the one hand, you have skeletal muscle that contracts to pull air in. And then it relaxes to let the air out. This you can consciously control. Think about it. You can decide to hold your breath. You can decide to take a deep breath. But most of the time, you have other things to think about than breathing. So you do have an autopilot in your medulla oblongata. The other aspect of breathing is the airways that the air flows through. All right, your trachea, your bronchi, the bronchioles. You can control the diameter of these. So you can see like this one is constricted and this one is dilated. So by controlling the diameter of these, you control how much air gets in and out with each breath. And these are controlled by smooth muscle. Okay, so if they are constricted, then you get less air with each breath. And if they are dilated, you can get more air with each breath. And since there's smooth muscle, remember smooth muscle is always involuntary. So these are controlled by the autonomic nervous system. And that's where we have our two divisions, sympathetic and parasympathetic. And this control comes from the medulla oblongata. Okay, next we'll look at some more detail of how you pull that air in and out. Okay, remember with the heart, we talked about the pericardium, that sac around the heart, the double layer serous membrane. Well, you have that around the lungs also. So right here, this is lung tissue. This is your chest wall. And in between is your pleura. The pleura is the same structure as the pericardium you already learned about. It is a double layer serous membrane. So if we look at the layers, you have right here on the surface of your lung is the visceral layer. Then you have here, attached to the chest wall, is the parietal layer. And there is a space in between, And that space in between the layers is the cavity. And the cavity has serous fluid. So it lubricates as you breathe. Okay, so that's lining your lungs. Okay, now if we come down to these pictures, we're going to see how you pull the air in and out. And that pleura and its pleural cavity are very important in pulling the air in and out. So first we'll number these pictures. This is 1, 2, 3, 4. That's the order we're going to look at the pictures in. Then if we label some things, the blue here is the pleural cavity. So in each picture, the part we're really focusing on is the pleural cavity. Now remember also you use skeletal muscles to pull air in and out. So we're also going to be talking about the intercostal muscles that are here in the chest and the diaphragm that is here at the bottom of the lungs. Okay, in picture number 1, and I'll use blue for 1 and 2 and then pink for 3 and 4. In picture number 1, this is a picture just before you inhale. Okay, in this state, your muscles are relaxed, the diaphragm and the intercostals. So if the muscles are relaxed, that means that your diaphragm is up. It forms a dome when it's relaxed. And when your intercostals are relaxed, your chest is in. So everything's compact. Everything is smaller right now. Your chest is in, your diaphragm is up. This means that that pleural cavity is small. Okay, now let's go to picture 2. In picture 2, you inhale. Okay, when you inhale, your chest rises. So your intercostals contract and pull your chest out. At the same time, the diaphragm goes down. Notice here the diaphragm is flat. Okay, this makes your chest cavity bigger. Notice that the pleural cavity is bigger here. Compare the size of it here to the size of it here. So these two muscles contracting and pulling outward pulls the parietal pleura with them. So the parietal pleura is pulled out away from the lungs. This makes the cavity bigger. Now this cavity is an enclosed space, and if you make an enclosed space bigger, you create suction. And that suction pulls air in. Okay, and remember also in chapter 20 and in 21, we were talking about blood in the veins and lymph. This suction is also what's helping to pull blood back to your heart and pull lymph up to your shoulders. Okay, now we can go on to pictures 3 and 4. So in picture 3, You're in this little slight pause where you've inhaled and now you're about to exhale. So this is just before you exhale. So notice the muscles are contracted. We've got the cavity is large. And the lungs are full of air. Because you just finished inhaling. Now if we go to picture 4. So look at the cavity. Here's the cavity. Here's the cavity. In picture 4, we make the cavity small again. We do that by having the muscles relax and bring the parietal pleura back in. So the chest comes back in, the diaphragm goes back up. You're bringing that parietal pleura back in toward the lungs. And when you do that, the cavity gets smaller. And if you have an enclosed space and you make it smaller, you create pressure. And that pressure pushes the air out. So the main idea here is that your muscles are contracting and pulling the parietal pleura away from the lungs, which makes the cavity bigger, which creates suction and pulls air in. Then your muscles relax and they bring that parietal pleura back toward your lungs. That makes the cavity smaller, which creates pressure and pushes the air out. And that's how you inhale and exhale.